Hello, School Transportation Nation. It's Tony Corpin here. I've got with me Taylor at Batani. No Ryan this week, but Taylor is just as fabulous. Welcome, Taylor.
Great to be on, Tony, TNT. So, talking to the nation.
That's right. When you got the senior editor with you, you know that things are going to get real. We're going to get the real low. Ryan sugarcoats it. Taylor, she gets right to the news, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Well, Taylor is going to be talking with Jennifer Gardella, the Director of Transportation for Rockwall Independent School District in Texas and a 2025 STN Rising Star, also a TSD conference attendee. She's going to be there in person, gracing us, sharing her knowledge. She is full of excitement too, Taylor. I'm so glad she's going to be joining us on the podcast today.
Oh my gosh, she is full of excitement, and she offered up her farm. She has like 60 chickens. So she's like, you know what? If we want to do an after party at TSD at her place, she's like, hook her up.
Telling you, this is the magic of school transportation. It's one big community of friends and fun and chickens too, apparently. So we gotta have some fun with that. We'll ask her more about it.
Yeah, definitely. Great conversation coming up with her.
Also, I'm going to be talking with Frank Girardot, the Senior Communications Director for RIDE, one of our podcast sponsors, talking school bus safety. They sent us some great info from School Bus Safety Week. So looking forward to that discussion. And to remind the nation, this episode is brought to you by TransFinder, the leader in school bus routing software, by RIDE, real innovation delivered with excellence, and by School Radio, your source for reliable radio communications. All right, we're going to be diving into some top headlines. We have our brand new November issue. Our Transportation Director of the Year is announced. The front cover of November. Have you seen him? It's a him. I'm giving a hint. Ooh. You got to go to the stnonline.com website. Go check it out. Read all about him and his district. We're going to dive into that in just a second. Before we get to it, we have quick message. Hey, safety is a number one priority for everyone in school transportation, and even more so when needing to communicate in a school bus setting. School radios, push to talk over cellular or POC radios, are the safety enhancement you need to provide clear communication across all aspects of your fleet. Schools, SROs, that's school resource officers, and beyond. School radio helps take safety and connectivity a step further by offering interoperability solutions that bridge conventional two-way radios with POC systems, creating a unified network that boosts effectiveness and safety. This integrated strategy guarantees smooth communication in both emergency situations and daily activities. To learn more about how school radio can improve safety in your communication methods, visit school-radio.com. That's school-radio.com. All right, we're back, Taylor. Should we tell them who it is? You think they've sneaked a peek?
It's out. It's already out. I think.
Is the word out? I don't know. Maybe people haven't looked. They've been doing their job. They're running transportation. They were busy with Halloween the week before. There's so much happening.
I'm telling you, I was on the website at 11:59 on October 31st, waiting for it to hit.
I know, handing out candy, and then bang, the treat comes. No tricks, just treats here. STN's November issue is on the website now. Go read all about it. Transportation Director issue. We got our Director of the Year. It is
drum roll,
Kiba Baldwin. Taylor, you went out and visited Mr. Kiba at Prince George's County in Maryland, and that was a great experience. Talk to us about it a little bit. Give us some context.
I love visiting districts because you never know what you're going to get, right? It's like, okay, this is what is going to happen. It's kind of like, I kind of know they're going to show me around their district. But there's always some sort of pizzazz that happens. And so when I had gotten there, Kiba was knee deep in navigating, a parent complaint that had kind of escalated. And he was like, hey, just want to let you know the local media is coming. And I was like, what? I've just never experienced that before. And he handled it so gracefully. He was just like, yeah, they're going to come and talk to me. And they want to do a segment. And I was just like, oh, okay. But
part of it. You're making news, Taylor.
I know, but I'm just little old Taylor out there, right? Like, but these are things that transportation directors deal with on a daily basis, right? They're communicating with their staff, they're communicating with their students, their parents, their community, and then now they're navigating the media. And then that night he had a board meeting where he presented. And so I got to sit in and watch that as well. And so these all different aspects of the job really just came together for me in Maryland and all that these transportation directors do.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Kiba, we've known him for quite a few years from STN Expo. He's gone to our Transportation Directors Summit as well, and I've met him a few times. And his name came up in our nomination process. And of course, Ryan does his due diligence, calls around, makes sure there's no skeletons in the closet. And but we found, man, Kiba, his communication skills were really outstanding. They were at a star level, and you literally get to see it in action on your visit. This is unscripted, unplanned, bang. He is there talking to the local media, communicating what is happening in transportation, trying to really clarify for the parents, for the community, administration, school board. There are so many stakeholders in a school transportation operation. Now, Prince George's County is big. So,
massive.
Massive. So context that. Give us a little more. What was it like when you arrived?
The interesting thing is, like, these districts are so big, but yet they are all so close knit and they feel like a family. So I think that aspect really falls through, regardless of the district. But when he gives me his number breakdown, like, my mouth is open the whole time. I don't think I've been to a district bigger. I can say definitely I have not been to a district of this size. I mean, they transport over 100,000 students. There's over 900 school bus drivers and monitors on staff, over 1,200 school buses in their fleet. I mean, over 1,000 routes. It's crazy the amount of work that they're doing. And yeah, there's going to be hiccups. And that's, kind of to Kiba's point and to the article's point. If you guys haven't read it yet, definitely check it out. But being transparent is a large part of the process. And when you have this much moving parts, when you are transporting this many students, when you're running this many routes, there's going to be hiccups. There's going to be lapses in communication. And how you handle that as a director, I think, really develops your trust with the community. It shows who you are. And that's really what I got a feel for when I was there, is that he didn't shy away. It wasn't like, hey, the local media is coming, I'm going to hide in my office, bye. It was, I'm going to address this head on. Yes, this was a lapse in communication. We did not communicate that this bus route was going to be late for this group of people, and that's on us. But let me tell you what we've done to get better at communication. Let me tell you where we're going. Let me tell you, where I see the district. And that really stuck with me, because there's going to be bad times. There's going to be fails. There's going to be ways you can improve. But if you don't take those opportunities to improve, then you're never going to get better, and you're never going to, have a positive relationship with your community. So I think that really embodied him getting the award, really embodied, the spirit of what a transportation director goes through.
Yeah, it's tough, Taylor. I mean, we discuss this all the time. Transportation is held to a very high standard, and it's hard being 100% all the time, because there are a lot of people in the value chain that there can be little hiccups, minor ones, major ones. As the director, you have to take the responsibility of taking that head on, right? Grabbing the bull by the horns, as they say, and really getting out there and addressing that from a leadership perspective. How do you create a strength amongst your team to help address that in the future so it doesn't happen again? What things can you do? Can you deploy technology? Can you make considerations? Or is there public awareness things you can do? How do you enroll the parents, a school board, superintendent, all the stakeholders? So there's just a lot of responsibility that falls on the director's shoulders, and people don't see that. It's simply like, oh, you're just trying to get transportation working from A to B to C. There's obviously so much more intricate components of the job that no one really talks about. But Kiba clearly demonstrated it when you came to visit him, and you saw him in full action, which was super cool.
It was awesome. And, from that point of leadership too, it's also about building your team up to feel confident to handle some of that request that you don't have to do. I mean, Kiba was telling me he sees a fraction, right, of parent, I'm going to air quote it, you guys can't see it, but parent complaints. He sees a fraction of those. Whereas he's really trained his team and backed his team up to the point where they feel confident handling a majority of those complaint requests, whatever it may be. And he, speaking of technology, encourages them to use AI like ChatGPT to help with emails, because he's like, they're not experts in communicating. That's not their job. So using other platforms, using technology, using AI helps, districts be able to handle this another layer, right, that they have to go through. So I just thought that was really interesting that he even gives templates to his supervisor. So it's like, hey, this is a template for how to respond to a parent, which is something I wouldn't even think about being part of a transportation director's job, but it's a huge part.
Yeah. It becomes a big, complex situation. And I really want to invite the listeners to read the November issue. Taylor wrote a great article. It's long, but you know what? There was a lot there to say and a lot to unpack. And the director of the year, we want to congratulate Kiba Baldwin on winning this prestigious award. Craig Beaver, who was our previous director of the year from Oregon up in Beaverton, we thank him for holding the mantle. He can pass the trophy on, the belt, give the award to Kiba to really champion and be our champion for 2025 through 2026. We appreciate him. You'll be seeing more of him at our shows. Our TSD conference that's coming up within days, he's going to be receiving the award on the main stage, getting the recognition that he's due. In addition to that. So make sure, guys, if you know Kiba, you don't know Kiba, email him, write him, find him on social media, congratulate him, give him a bad time, make him feel the love that you nation really want to identify with a leader, someone that's being recognized for doing great things in the industry. There's so much negative media out there. So it's really nice to have some nice news, some positive news, and want to thank you, Taylor, for writing an outstanding article, really something to be proud of, to identify someone who's just a great champion of school transportation with Kiba Baldwin.
And I could talk about Kiba all day. Great guy. You really encompassed, the award and everything. I also want to point that November issue touches on our 2025 Rising Superstars. So 10 profiled individuals this month who maybe aren't the director of the year this year, but are certainly rising to the top. And so I also take pride in those 10 individuals as well. Ruth Ashmore and Mariah Acevedo helped me this year put those 10 together. So check those out. And Jennifer was one of them, as you mentioned, in the top. We'll be talking with her about it later.
Yeah, our editorial team is on the trail, finding the best of the best. Maybe some future candidates, Taylor, for director of the year, right? You can hope. I know we definitely look to our list of people that are doing amazing things in the industry. There are so many, and it's nice to provide some recognition. And we love our rising stars, and we're so glad to feature them in the November issues. You guys go check those out. Taylor, we were talking a lot about school bus safety last week. It's School Bus Safety Week. School bus safety never stops just because the week is over. Got to continue on. And there definitely have been some shaky things in the world of safety. And want to touch on a couple of headlines. One headline we saw was Waymo. And for those that don't know, Waymo, it's basically autonomous cars that, if you've gotten in, almost like a taxi service, it has cameras all over it. There are certain cities that they're in. They're not everywhere. But there was a situation where one had passed a school bus illegally. And guess what? NHTSA took notice of this situation and has now started an investigation. You got more on that, Taylor?
Yeah, and I just want to say, we need to pull up the receipts, because I feel like we were talking about autonomous vehicles somewhere on the podcast months ago, and we brought up Waymo, and I was like, are they programmed to illegally pass, or are they programmed to stop for school buses? I just feel like we need the receipts on that, because I feel like I mentioned it. I'm not 100%, but
check the recording. Past episode.
That's what I'm saying. So yeah, like you mentioned, the National Highways Traffic Safety Administration issued a preliminary evaluation into Waymo for illegally passing a school bus. And essentially, it states that the Waymo kind of approached from the right side of the school bus, initially stopped, but then drove around the front of the bus by briefly turning right to avoid running into the bus's right front end. And then it turned left to pass in front of the bus, and then turning further left and driving down the roadway past the entire school bus.
This sounds like really dangerous behavior around a bus.
So it just maneuvered around the bus while the bus's, stop arm was open.
Like it was an impediment, right? Like it's a tree branch.
Which is so interesting because you think that these autonomous vehicles would have the knowledge to not pass a school bus. So it's interesting. I know, Audi was kind of doing something with Bluebird on stopping for the school bus. And we've seen that technology. So I'm kind of wondering why that wasn't, also put into the Waymo, or what kind of happened there. Is this something that we're going to see more often?
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely traffic signal situations where you're looking at school zones or zones around the school bus. I know that's more of a traffic thing where there's different markers or beacons within certain zones. So there's definitely elements that I know we've talked about that as well at STN Expo West. We've done a few presentations on this where some of the car manufacturers are integrating safety notifications of they're approaching a school bus to slow down or stop or a school zone. Waymo, who knows, right? Like this definitely isn't a consideration, but rules of the road. And I wrote about this in my article in the November issue too. Is safety everyone's responsibility, right? So the thing is that you have these car manufacturers, they are not necessarily involved as highly in the driver component of the rules of the road. They're trying to provide notifications and awareness, and we hope that reduces accidents or fatalities of students that are crossing. But lo and behold, we have accidents and fatalities that keep happening on the heels of School Bus Safety Week. I believe there were multiple fatalities of illegal passes that happened. I know in our meetings that we have every week, Mararia Acevedo, she talks about those accidents, and every meeting, every Monday meeting, there's another story about some child fatality, accident, situation. There's just no end to it, Taylor. It kind of just is mind-boggling whenever we're like, oh, what negative headline does she have this week for us? Because literally the good and the bad, it's a lot of bad out there in the mainstream media. Really, STN's trying to hold up, keeping everybody elevated with the good media. But, these are real things that are happening in the field. And how do we do our job to kind of help with the safety component?
Mm-hmm. And yeah, you mentioned, having them talk at Expo. I know we had Applied Information at STN Expo East.
Yeah, that's them.
And so talking about that vehicle to, cellular to vehicle to everything technology, and having that all kind of communicate. And I think that's huge. But then you have these autonomous vehicles where it's like there's no one in the vehicle. So there's no fact checking this technology. I think that's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah. Also, I remember it was last year, I think, if I'm not mistaken, there was a group called Project X, and they had run a regional Super Bowl ad slamming Tesla's full driving mode for going around school buses. So in the beta mode, they found the self-driving mode to be ineffective, unsafe, unreliable. That was their opinion of it. And they had demonstrated how in self-driving mode, now granted, this is a driver who's in the car in self-driving mode versus Waymo where there's no driver. They both had issues, right? And this was kind of a test that they had run, is how is a Tesla in full driving self mode navigating around a school bus, and it found that it was violating the rules of the road. So this continues to be something that is emerging as we see autonomous vehicles or self-driving vehicle modes. How do these technologies interact with different things, specifically like school buses? And this is a real cause for concern for the industry. And clearly there are government agencies that are keeping a very close eye on this.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where this conversation continues, Tony.
So let's talk about the accident, Taylor. Nobody likes to talk about accidents, and this one was a major accident down in Leander, Texas. Really made a lot of headlines, pretty graphic imagery online. I know we have a story on stnonline.com. Do you want to break it down for the audience a little bit?
Yeah, and thankfully there was no fatalities in this crash. So I know the photo, it looks, like you said, graphic. It's horrible, a school bus on its side. Thankfully, no fatalities. But the National Transportation Safety Board did investigate it, and they put out their preliminary investigation. And they kind of said, okay, so the forward-facing video from the vehicle showed the school bus drifting left, and then I would assume the school bus driver tried to counter correct, and we've kind of seen this before, where then they go to the right, causing the school bus to leave the roadway, and then at the same time, like there was a curve in the road, so the school bus rolled. And so what they found was that not many students were restrained in the available lap shoulder seatbelts. So in Texas, school buses older than 2018 model year need to have the lap shoulder seatbelts. However, it sounded like this school bus did have the lap shoulder seatbelts. It's just students weren't using them. So the NTSB kind of put out some recommendations on policies and procedures for Texas and Leander that kind of demonstrate, okay, how to ensure students is properly belted. So that's, the driver giving some instruction to students as well, pre-departure throughout kind of the trip on, hey, buckle up, this is how you buckle up, that kind of thing. So this is another thing falling on the drivers, but is it necessarily a bad thing? I don't really know. This is just kind of what the NTSB has come out and said, that there needs to be more policies and procedures, more maybe dialogue around students buckling up if they have the safety restraints inside their school buses.
Yeah, it becomes this always, you can put seatbelts on the vehicles, but if no one's enforcing usage, it feels counterproductive, right? And now you've got announcements like with Bluebird on all new school buses that seatbelts are standard. And if you don't want seatbelts, you actually have to click the box that you don't want them. Try explaining in an accident why you check the box for no seatbelts. Like, that's going to come back in some investigation if you decided not to. Now, granted, in Texas, it's required now by state law. Certain states, it has requirements. Other states, it doesn't. I'm sure you go on the stnonline.com website. We've got a nice handy dandy map in our resources section, which you can see where the state law is for lap shoulder belts and lap safety belts. Or, there's differences in it. And then everybody talks about compartmentalization, needing it, not needing it. And we also have, obviously, Mike DeWine, the governor of Ohio, came out with that working group that we talked about last week. And there's a really tight timetable and $10 million in funding to go outfit buses with safety equipment. Safety belts is one of those pieces of equipment, in addition to other pieces of safety equipment. So there's a bit of a rush. I think it's like a mid-December or a mid-November deadline to get the applications in to get that funding. So that's a pretty quick turnaround for that. But, this is a perfect example of people react when accidents happen. And all of a sudden, it takes a situation like this to bring light to an issue that needs to be addressed. And no one would have addressed it until the accident happened. Now here it is. And hopefully this is a catalyst of change, Taylor.
And I like to play devil's advocate. I could see how it could be a lot on the driver to take on that quote unquote liability of ensuring that students are buckled up. And I get that extra step, but even just walking the aisles at the beginning of the route, just saying, hey, buckle up. I think taking that step that you kind of mentioned could make a difference in a child's life.
Yeah, no, I agree, Taylor. Well, great discussion on our headlines this week. We're going to get to our guest interviews in just a second, right after this quick message. We're back from STN Expo West, and what a blast. The TransFinder team had meeting everybody. They held several classes, had an amazing response to their ride and drive, showcasing their award-winning driver app, Wayfinder. One of the highlights was the top transportation teams panel discussion. The leaders of the 6 winning teams demonstrated just why their teams won. These were thoughtful leaders who listened to their teams, made changes to show how they cared, and yes, even had to make difficult decisions. As TransFinder's CEO Antonio Civitella said, it is so rewarding to honor these men and women who truly do heroic work every day. You can see how much this recognition means to these teams, and that's what makes it all worth the effort. TransFinder started the Top Transportation Teams program in 2023, and it continues to get bigger and better every year. Learn more by visiting toptransportationteams.com to learn more about how your company can join the program. Also visit transfinder.com. All right, guys, excited to bring back on the STN podcast, Frank Girardot, Senior Director of Communications at Ride. Frank, good to see you, man.
Hey, Tony. Thanks for inviting me. I love your podcast. It's actually one of the 5 podcasts I subscribe to.
Beautiful. I love hearing that. We need more subscribers. We're going to push hard. We need you, nation. Share it with your friends. We love 5-star reviews too. So make sure and drop us a review. Those 5 stars. We always appreciate our nation and our subscribers and followers. And Frank, you and I are going to be seeing a lot of each other. I know you're coming to us live from Grand Rapids, Michigan, where the NAPT conference is taking place. You guys have a nice booth out there. I'm going to see you again in Frisco, Texas, home of the TSD conference. We have record-breaking attendance down there in Dallas. So we're excited to see you down there. I know you guys are involved in our ride and drive. So you always love demonstrating your technology. So we have a lot to talk about. What kind of prompted me to reach out to you is I received a press release for School Bus Safety Week, and a lot of the safety messages had been around crossing controls, right? Illegal passing. And yours was more around the safety with kids around the school bus. Specifically, you guys are excellent at building electric school buses. And you were talking about your award-winning battery technology, the Blade battery, which got awarded Best Green Technology at STN Expo West this last summer. So I just want to dive into the safety component because we don't talk about it a ton. And I feel like this is an important discussion we should have. So let's dive into it. What does School Bus Safety Week mean for Ride? And how does that translate to your customers?
Well, hey, first of all, thanks for the opportunity to go into depth on this topic because it's an important one. And it's an especially important one at this time of year. You get into October, the school year's been going for a while, and people get a little more lax around school buses. And that's why you see a lot of the press releases about, hey, if you see the stop sign, stop. And then you think about like Halloween and all the potential for kids to have trouble at Halloween, people that are out driving that don't think there's kids out there and stuff like that. So it's very important to focus on safety. But, when we go to conferences like NAPT, where we are today, or TSD, where we'll be next week, or NASD, TPS, where we'll be the following week, a lot of the questions that we get are about school bus safety and specifically about battery electric school bus safety. As you know, Ride is a manufacturer of battery electric school buses. It's our bread and butter, our batteries, and our chemistry, the technology that goes into these batteries is virtually fireproof. We've done all kinds of tests. We've punctured the batteries, we've crushed the batteries, we've set them on fire, and thank God there's been no runaway thermal events as a result. So we felt like we're confident enough about the batteries that we put in our Achiever and our Dreamer and the Blade batteries that go in the Creator that we could focus on this aspect of it. And let me tell you something. I'm very conscious about stories related in the school bus industry. I read dozens of them every day. And in the last couple of weeks, I think on your website, I saw a story out of maybe Minnesota where a propane fueled bus caught on fire outside a lady's home. And she and the bus driver rescued all the kids off the bus. And the Ring camera caught this horrific event of the bus just like in flames right there on a suburban street. It melted through the asphalt. It's a scary thing for parents to see that. And so, with that in mind, we think that it's good to reassure folks that we believe our technology, our battery, and our build is the safest out there.
Yeah, it's important. For some reason, there's been a rash of fires around, and it's kind of interesting because I think anecdotally, we always joke, with mainstream media, if it bleeds, it leads, right? They're always looking for negative stories. I mean, we were talking earlier on the podcast about us trying to talk a little more about the positives going on in the industry as an industry voice, because the mainstream media is always looking at the negative side of things. How is it impacting their community? What are the things happening? And so we love to touch on these sorts of things and talk about safety, because I think that school transportation professionals hang their hat on safety, and it is hard being 100% every day, but they have a responsibility to the children, to the parents, that these children are in their care. So they want to make sure their equipment is adequately maintained. It's the best equipment. And sometimes you're constrained because you have budgetary issues or whatever that is. But at the end of the day, you need to provide a safe ride. And people are having to really look inward and saying, hey, what is the best piece of equipment for us to be managing and maintaining when we're providing these kids these rides? And I think as electric came onto the scene a few years back, it's really taken a big foothold in the industry, and there's tons of momentum around it. A lot of people believe in it. And they love it. And not everyone believes in it, but there are a lot of people that do. And we think that there is a really good use case for electric at scale in the school bus industry. And we're still at the early stages of adoption, and we'd love to see more. And we love that RIDE is looking at the technology and really pushing the envelope in terms of efficiency, range, and safety when you bring out things like this kind of press release, which is great to touch on.
I should have taken notes when you just said all that stuff, because there's a lot of things that I kind of want to like touch on.
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, clearly there's nothing more important than your child's safety. Nothing. I'm a parent, you're a parent. I'm sure most of the people that listen to this and are involved in our industry are parents. They certainly are people that deal with kids. And I mean, that's, for a myriad of reasons. The kids are our future. The kids are innocent. All these things that go along with it. Everyone, is self-aware of the safety of kids, especially when they're out of the house and on a school bus. So yeah, and two, when battery electric, was first introduced into the market, the safety of the batteries around kids and in yards was a significant concern for contractors and others that have large investments in their school buses. And I think as more and more of these installations go in, and by the way, there's awards and happening every day, and there's buses being delivered every day all around the country. So I think as more and more of these are, put into place, and people can see, as you mentioned, the side benefits of it, and the fact that they are safe, we'll begin to see a lot more electric school buses on the road. And it really is, Tony, as you said, it's the tip of the iceberg, what we're seeing. And what are those side benefits? By the way, because we've alluded to it, the side benefits, as I see it, are resiliency. As states and cities develop policy around electric vehicles, one of the things that we've noticed is that a lot of the policymakers focus on V2G technology. That's vehicle to grid. School buses make a perfect use case for that, because what we're talking about is school safety, and we think like, oh my gosh, all the time these buses are involved with transporting kids back and forth. Fact of the matter is that, school buses sit idle for a lot more time during the year than they are actually in use. So what's the great thing that you can do? Well, you've got these batteries on wheels, and they can put power and energy back into the grid at peak times when they're not in use taking kids to school. And there's another aspect of that too. And it's one that I always really talk about because I experienced this. In my community, earlier this year, we had a very, very significant wildfire that, took out thousands of homes and businesses and displaced people who didn't lose their homes or business for weeks. One of the things that the police department and fire department did very early on was bring in some Tesla Cybertrucks and plug them into the emergency operations centers so that they could function. And just imagine how communities that experience tragedies, hurricanes, fires, earthquakes, floods would be able to, have a more quicker response and a better, I want to say like a public health version of this, because look, it's not just the emergency operations center, it's also hospitals. If you could take a battalion of buses and plug them in all over the town after one of these disasters, it helps everybody. It begins recovery much sooner. So to me, that's the, beyond the safe aspect, that's the biggest use case scenario of these buses. We're very fortunate that in California, V2G is something that's highly valued and something that we feel that we're, mastering. And the state likes it so much, what we're doing, that they've, awarded us a grant to build more. And so, we have a 550,000 square foot facility in Lancaster, California. We have, begun the process of doubling the size of that, building a second facility out there in Lancaster using the state grant money to grow. And when that facility is completed, probably 2027, we'll have hundreds of new jobs created, but more importantly, the ability to, build these very safe school buses more quickly and get them out to the communities that need them, turn them around in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, I know the example of Oakland ISD, where your achievers are deployed at scale. Your partner company, Zoom Services, that's the provided contractor within the area, has really put together a compelling business case, and it's gotten national attention, international attention, and they've done a great job kind of getting the word out in national media. And there are your buses talking about the resiliency of providing electricity to their community there in Oakland. And I even saw the CEO, Ritu Narayan, she was meeting with the mayor of San Francisco. So I can only imagine that has gotten the attention of other people and other leaders to identify that, hey, look, there is an opportunity here to really take what you said and apply it. But it takes a lot of other stakeholders to realize the value of the investment. Transportation can't hoe the road alone. So it's really great getting that kind of notoriety and that awareness. And I think, to your point, the more awareness and scale and mainstream media we get about these positive things happening, that's a catalyst for change.
Absolutely. And Zoom is a wonderful example. I mean, I think they're as you say, international sort of proof of concept, right? But it's not even a concept. I mean, they have a measurable return of power back to the grid in Oakland as a result of that installation of V2G. So, they proved it could be done, and they're doing it. And that model, because that's really what it is, right? It's a model. That model is going to be used around the country. We're seeing school districts in Maryland and Michigan and even in the South, like in Alabama and California, that are adopting the idea that, hey, let's buy these electric buses. Let's, figure out how to do the V2G in our community and have this spare battery ready to go when we need it.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation too, because now that the Clean School Bus program has kind of run its course, there's still, I guess, more information to come on that, TBD, on where the funding lands. But certain states have certain mandates, New York, California, and then there's other states, as you mentioned, that you have people that believe in what you're doing, or communities that are going out, school districts that are stepping out and saying, hey, look, we believe in the mission of this. We see the health benefits to the children. They have identified the CapEx versus OpEx expense, which has always been a rub in the school bus industry, is they buy the buses with CapEx, but their fuel comes out of OpEx. It's how do you kind of redefine the budgeting structure where, hey, how much fuel savings are really going to achieve, and what's that look like? Because it's hard for people to maybe equate what a kilowatt hour is to a gallon of gas. And it is hard for people to wrap their head around that. And now you have a new paradigm where you've got, hey, look, there's a new way of calculating this, and we have to kind of work through the nuance of that. And that comes with working with public utilities and other stakeholders, but it's a re-education of the market. So do you see more and more of those conversations happening with your team out in the market and field?
Yeah, absolutely. Those conversations are happening. I think for at least the last couple of years, anybody in this industry who's involved in at least the electric or the clean school bus side of it realize that EPA funding is not going to be there forever, and that really where this industry is going to grow, it's going to be at the local and the state level. As you mentioned, states like New York and California have very succinct policies regarding the purchase and distribution of the electrification of the school bus industry. And, they, just as we've mentioned, the Oakland Unified School District is a model, so too are the states like Michigan and California. And I think, as we get closer to the federal funding sort of being gone and state funding kind of ramping up, at that same time is when we're going to begin to see some of the data that shows the return on investment that these schools are going to see when they go to an electric bus that puts energy back into the grid.
Yeah, exciting times, Frank. Well, I want to make sure the nation, if they see Ride out at one of the numerous events that you're going to this fall, if you're at NAPT, the TSD conference, or NASDIPS, make sure and look up Frank and his team, Jason Yan. They've got a big crew there that's always there. They're always happy to help answer questions, show you the product. We also do a ride and drive, which I know it's a great opportunity to expose people to the technology, the experience, the quietness. It's just a very sensory experience when you get on the bus and you're like, wow, it's just so quiet and it's just so smooth of a ride. So I love to invite our listeners to try out a ride vehicle if they've never been on one. It is quite a treat.
We've found that the ride and drive at TSD is one of our most popular events because it these people that go to TSD are a lot of times dealing with kids that really need to be in an environment that's not only safe but quiet and allows the bus driver to hear everything that's happening in the bus, and allows some of the kids to not have a bad reaction to what some of the sounds they might hear or the loud noises that a traditional bus would make. So we obviously love going to TSD, and I look forward to seeing folks at NAPT, TSD, and NASD, TPS, these coming weeks of November as it gets colder.
Yeah. Now, Frank, if somebody wants to learn more about Ride products, where do they go?
Great question, Tony. It's very simple, ride.co. That's ride.co.
Awesome.
And we've got a full website that'll tell you about all the stuff that we do.
Exciting updates, Frank. Thanks so much. Look forward to seeing you real soon there at the conferences, and appreciate you jumping on and sharing your knowledge. Great conversation.
Thanks for having me. Great seeing you. I look forward to seeing you here in Michigan in a few days and down the road.
All right, guys, Taylor Ekbatani is going to be talking with Jennifer Gardella, Transportation Director, right after this.
All right, nation. So I am back. We have Jennifer Gardella on the podcast with us. She is the Director of Transportation at Rockwall ISD in Texas. So welcome. I'm honestly shocked that you haven't been on the podcast before. I was telling you before we started, but great to have you on now.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here.
And it's funny because I met you, it had been a couple of years now when you're at Frisco. Mm-hmm. I was touring the district. And I think that was, you just started at Frisco?
Yes, I was their assistant director there, and they told me, oh, you're helping with the TSD rodeo. And I said, oh, never done that before. That was a blast. And then I met all of y'all.
Yep.
You've been stuck with me ever since.
And it's been a great stuck. I love it. Okay, so for those who aren't totally familiar with you, can you kind of give a background on how you got started in the industry? I know you were always kind of involved with kids, right? You're at a daycare, I think.
Yes, I ran a daycare of my own with my family for 14 years. And in total, I've been in childcare for 21 years. Had my CDL for a few years because, some of us young, but 23 years, right? So I've had that CDL for 23 years, and that led me into the ISD world where I got to be my son's field trip driver, route driver, and that's why I started helping out there because they had a shortage of drivers. And little by little, I moved up at that ISD and then went up to Carrollton Farmers Branch and up to Frisco to where I've rolled into Rockwall now a little bit over a year as their director here.
That's awesome. So when you were transporting your kid, I have to know, was he like, Mom, I don't want this. Like, don't look at me. Don't talk to me.
For the first year, he was like, Mom, I don't know you.
Okay.
Just tell me where to sit. Just ignore me. I'll be back here. At that point, didn't have the nice little earbuds that cancel out all the noise. And so it's the big old headphones, And so he just goes, Mom, I don't know you. And then hit middle school. And middle school, he never didn't want to ride my bus. He wanted to ride the other drivers' buses. And they would still take pictures of them and send them to me. Poor kid couldn't get away from me. And then when we went to high school, he was thrilled that I was able to be in that industry because I got to tell him more about the bus when he was going on all of his field trips for baseball. And then my daughter for softball.
Look at that.
So it's been an adventure.
Full circle.
Yes.
Wow. So you've been transporting them for a while.
Yes, I've been transporting.
Okay.
We had our preschool. We opened up our preschool when my son was 18 months old, and I was the only CDL driver there. So I did all my field trips there. I did all my bus runs there. And so he started going on field trips with me at 5.
Wow.
And then he went to kindergarten. And then once he got up into public school, that's when he transitioned into field trips. And I thought I was going to fall apart because I got to be the mom at that point. It was kind of odd not being behind the wheel on some of those trips, especially the zoo.
Oh,
it's an adventure here in Texas trying to get into the Dallas Zoo.
Yeah, I bet.
But it's always amazing. They get to see because I'm short, and so my dad used to tease me about that. And he goes, okay, are you sure you can drive that big old thing? And we drive it everywhere we go. We don't hit curbs. Lord willing, I'm hitting on the desk right now, wood. But yeah, it's such an adventure behind that wheel. The kids don't bother me because I'm so used to the childcare background and how energetic they are that they don't bother me when I drive. They can be cutting up and loud and stuff. As long as they're not moving and they're buckled in, I drive. Their distractions don't bother me from all the years I've done childcare.
No, that's awesome. And you use the word short, but we're going to say petite. I'm also very little.
Yes.
But it's intimidating, I think, for some people, right? A woman, a shorter woman coming in, being like, this is a big bus. I have to handle kids. How you obviously handled it really well with your transition, but what advice would you give to someone who's like, hey, I don't know if this is for me?
I train my drivers now with my training team, and I just tell them, treat them as you would treat them as your kid. Treat them as you would treat them as your family. Talk to them. Just like I'm talking to you is how I talk to the kids. I said, when you get elevated with them, they're going to get elevated with you because they're going to feel something's further coming towards them. So the more you conversate with them, more you talk with them. I think one of my assistant directors said it best the other day that when you just talk the talk, they walk the walk because they've listened to you. They've heard you give those rules. They've heard you give the expectations, so they know what to expect. And that's what I tell my drivers. I said, if you just sit behind the wheel and drive, 100% you're doing a great job by driving that bus. But if you don't interact with those kids and you don't ask them how they're doing or how was their basketball game or how was church this weekend, they're going to be like, she can't relate to me, so she doesn't understand, but she's just getting on to me. She's just giving me rules. And I like to think of it when I tell my new drivers, it's a classroom on wheels. The teachers get the opportunity to teach inside. But when we're inside that classroom on wheels, it's loud. And so they have to adapt to that loud bus, those loud students, and then the kids have to adapt too. And so when you're friendly with them and interactive, they seem to respond better to it.
I think that's for anything, right? If you treat the kids with respect and not just as kids, then they're going to appreciate the bus ride more.
Yes.
No, that's really important.
Respect goes a long way. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter if it's a baby you're holding. It doesn't matter if it's a 60-year-old holding hands with her husband. Respect goes a long way because if you don't have it, you haven't earned it. That's big on a bus. You have to earn that respect.
Yeah.
So you earn it through life. And that's just something nowadays we have to earn a little bit harder because so many of us are spending a lot more time with the kids because we're sunrise to sunset with some of these kiddos. So we're the connection that they get, first connection of the district.
You mentioned training, and I kind of want to jump into that a little bit because when you started at Rockwall, there was no one overseeing training.
Correct.
So what have you kind of done to put strategies in place to help the training program and to really grow it? Because are you fully staffed?
We were fully staffed.
Okay.
We were fully staffed. We have had some go out on leave and injuries. So that has hindered us a little bit this school year. That did not hinder us last year. But we were fully staffed when we came into the school year with my bus drivers. Our district, I have to cover my crossing guards and my monitors. So crossing guards is hard. I have not been fully staffed there. But in my training program, when I started, you're right, there wasn't one we had to redo it all. I was very fortunate that my district took the wisdom of the years that I have behind the wheel, that they listened to what we needed, and they gave me a specialist position. So that was the first position that I got to train and hire up who I wanted. So it was really cool. We're in the interviews and I'm interviewing all these applicants. And I look over at my boss, Will, and I say, sir, these applicants are amazing. I can't just do one. I need two. I need one for the morning and I need one for the afternoon. And he was like, what? But our district is open 5 a.m. to 7 p.m.,
Wow. Not
counting trips. So having both of those specialists, they approved both of those positions. Again, a new director, I was in awe. They approved both of those positions, put them in place, and I was able to put them throughout my whole operations where we have that covered. They took the training program from there and rebuilt all of our paperwork. We had to make accident packets. We had to make binders for all my routes. We had to ensure everything was set up with the insurance company when we might have those boo-boo accidents. We had to rebuild every process with that paperwork. So those specialist positions were definitely something I didn't see getting off firsthand, but they took that on. They ran with it. They also run all of my camera system here. So they handle all the student discipline on my buses. So they pull the footage for me. So that is another teachable moment when they're pulling that footage. If they see something where they can help those drivers, because in my teaching background in childcare, I love kids. I love being around them. So I can give them tidbits of what to do a little different. I've taught that into our training specialist, and then they give that back to our drivers. Putting up with having seating charts on every route. We didn't have those when I started. Those seating charts go with the accidents, and then it goes with the student discipline. And then our training on site is my two specialists where they do everything behind the wheel, the theory for ELDT, get them ready for clearinghouse, and then we send them to third party to get their CDL. Once they earn their CDL, we then do behind the wheel again, route reading for them to see what route they're going to be on so they're familiar with the route they're going to be taking. So it's not just behind the wheel training that they do student management and now Wayfinder tablets. So they're teaching our drivers how to route on those tablets. So it's a lot. And the district, like I said, I was very happy to get to because we have just hit the ground running. Last year, we had 24 brand new CDL drivers trained. We have lost some to districts. That's what we do when they move. But we're very fortunate because what I say is, the best part about that is we've trained people for other districts. I know we've made safe drivers out there, and that's the ultimate goal is which just transport the future.
You know what? That's great. You're not salty that you lost the drivers. You're looking at it from a positive perspective, and that's really wonderful.
That's me. I don't do well with negative. My parents brought me up in a very different world than what we're living in nowadays. So I have a positive aspect and outlook on 99% of my day. Sometimes I let some steal my sparkle. But when that sparkle's gone, it just gets reunited when I'm inspired by everything else that we're doing here in this team. So it just comes all full circle.
No, that's amazing. And one of the reasons why you were selected as a Rising Superstar this year, I should have mentioned that at the top. So honestly, well-deserved. So congratulations.
Thank you. I'm still teary-eyed. I can still feel it. It just still doesn't feel surreal sometimes to get honored like this in the transportation world because it's so big. There's so many inspiring leaders out there nowadays that I look up to so much. And then to when I get to post that I'm the Rising Star among this group of amazing colleagues, and then I post just the welcome email that y'all sent on Facebook, and people are like, oh, yeah, that's you. That's you. You inspire me. And I go, wow, I never even thought about it like that. Because I'm looking at those that inspire me that I don't even think about the choices that I make on a daily, I hope I inspire people. But it's really cool to get to hear the inspiration that we all do for each other.
Right. And I think you have 4 ladies specifically that you called out. That, do you want to talk about your mentors a little bit?
Yes, I would love that. I wouldn't be where I am today with the 4 amazing ladies that I did mention. It goes back to 2 of them go back to when I did an interview with another district. I walk into this interview and I was so excited. I wanted assistant director with the district, and I met no other than Michelle Ram. The most amazing lady I have ever met in my life. She has inspired me ever since I met her. During that interview, I heard all the questions that she asked and all the interest that she had in me. And she walked out of the interview with me and she goes, Jennifer, you're on the right path. I can't tell you what's going to happen right now, but you're on the right path. So keep pushing. And I said, thank you so much. And then right along in that same interview is when I met Terry Mapango. Another superstar that I look up to so much. She was in that interview panel with me, and she walked out with me and she goes, this is not going to be the end of your journey. She goes, I'm so happy I got to meet you. And just like with Michelle, they both have been in my corner ever since. And that was 4 years ago.
Wow. 4
years ago in an interview when I got no for assistant director. And then I got to go to Carrollton Farmers Branch. It's just amazing how we intertwine here in North Texas. Well, intertwine anywhere in the nation, right? And then my 3rd amazing leader is Michelle Summers. Michelle Summers is a rising star out in the Gulf Coast area. And her sense of humor and her positivity, I just soaked her up over 2 years ago when I first met her because I was like, oh, she's me. She's me. So we feel like we're unicorns together because we're sparkling everywhere we go. And that's just something that's really hard in this industry in transportation. My day started at 5 a.m. this morning. I beat my dispatch here and they're like, you beat me here. And I said, I couldn't sleep. And they go, you sleep? I said, no, not really. And so who knows what the day's going to hold when I get here. But it's just those little nuggets that you hold on to with that positivity like Michelle brought to me. And then my 4th person is Tedra Bailey. Oh, I met her as well in North Texas. And there were many times in several districts I've worked in, I would call her and say, I'm dealing with this, this, and this. And she goes, Jennifer, don't let them steal your thunder. Don't let them steal your joy. You keep being you. You keep being strong. Because there's some of us out there that are very strong alpha females. Me, I know it. I claim it. And sometimes that gets a little too much for some because I am strong. And you got leaders like Michelle and Terry and Latedra that have told me from day one, don't change. Keep being you. Like they inspired me. Again, I'm finding out I'm inspiring other people, but it's because of those ladies that have been along this journey with me. We've gone to classes together. I stayed with Latedra out in Fort Worth when we went to classes together for professional development. It's just those bonds that you hold on to, because no matter where we are in the nation, no matter where we are in Texas, we are all dealing with the same thing. You know, we're still having to be a director or an assistant director in our position, and we still need to answer to leadership. We still need to meet that primary goal of transporting students. Some of us may or may not have all the staff we need. Some of us may or may not have the right culture right now. Some of us may or may not be building the foundation from the very bottom. But the best thing about it is we get to take all of those ideas, collaborate together. And I know no matter where I'm at, I've got a village right beside me. They're not walking behind me, judging me. They're walking right beside me going, Jennifer, do this. Jennifer, do this. And that encouragement and that, well, it just inspires me. I don't even know other way to say it.
No, you've said it perfectly. I mean,
they're true boss ladies. I love them.
Just hearing you speak about the inspiration that you've received, I know that there are other people listening to this being like, Jennifer has done that for me. And so I think that is the beautiful thing about this industry and people coming together and being able to lean on each other. And, you know, one of the ways is through conferences. And I know this week we have the TSD conference in your neck of the woods. So we're excited to see you in person. But what are you looking forward to the most at the TSD conference?
TSD conference is my favorite event. Is I love helping with the rodeo. Last year, they pulled me out of my box and they made me be one of those students on the bus. That was a whole nother experience. Because I may be outgoing when I get familiar with y'all, and I'm outgoing and I'm energetic. But when I don't know people, I'm quite in my shell. And I tell people that all the time. And they're like, there's no way you're in your shell. I said, I'm in my shell when I don't know you. But when I trust you, my shell's off and I'm like energetic, bouncing around, dancing everywhere. But I look forward to that the most about the rodeo, getting to see everybody, getting to see the best of the best compete. And then I love the sessions that y'all bring to us. Having specialized training for our special program students is crucial. Because there are so many things nowadays that change. Their paperwork's always going to be the same, but there's going to be different students, different buses, different equipment, and everything is touched on at this conference, that it's a specialized training that I'm honored I get to go again. I'm honored I get to see everybody again. And again, that's my last favorite thing about conferences. It's like seeing family. Seeing family, it's like, oh, I see you on Facebook. How are you? How are you? But getting to hug them in person and getting to see everybody from all over the nation, just getting to see, hey, what are you up to? And it's just being around family.
Yeah. And for those that don't know, but if you're listening to this podcast, you should know, the TSD conference is transporting students with disabilities and special needs. So you mentioned the specialized training. It's really for this specific group of individuals. And it's the conference, I think, that comes with the biggest hearts. You know, these people are in it day in and day out, and they truly, truly want to do good by their students.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It takes a special heart to help on our special programs routes. Our monitors are worked with the students daily. No telling what a student's going to interact with, how they're going to, what behavior is going to come out for them to be able to adjust. And man, that loud bus just gives them further issues. And then you got our drivers dealing with all that distraction behind the wheel. So it's an amazing opportunity to learn further from others.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to the conference and seeing you there. Before we go, the National Transportation Safety Board just put out a preliminary investigation into the Leander crash, and they mentioned seatbelts. And you kind of mentioned restraints earlier in the conversation. And I just wanted to touch base with you where you guys stand on, policies and procedures on students using the belt, how many school buses are equipped with them, that kind of thing.
I'm very fortunate that my fleet here, my fleet manager and I have already pulled my whole fleet. So I know what buses I have that don't have the 3-point seat belts. And I have already presented all of that to my executive director to show them what it would cost to retrofit my whole fleet. I'm very fortunate on my reg side that I only have about 10 that would need to be retrofitted, but my special programs routes would have a few more to do because of the equipment we've changed out. But my regular route buses, that's going to be my biggest feat, is because of those buses, getting them retrofitted for that. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how they're going to go for it yet, on which ones they're going to do and which ones they're not going to do. But I know as a district on our bus rules, we do have that seatbelts must be worn. And so I encourage all my drivers, as soon as they get in the driver's seat, to say seatbelts on and say that to the students, and then we roll out. Unfortunately, right now, with not all of our buses having seatbelts on them, it's really hard to enforce. Wear your seatbelt, don't wear your seatbelt, or send in a bus referral to a campus on not wearing a seatbelt. So it's hard on that aspect. So if I'm able to have the funds for it, I hope I can give them the data that they need to retrofit all of my fleet, because as a director over this big fleet, it would be a lot easier to have everything the same.
Yeah.
Because if the fleet is the same, then I would be able to have the same rules, and then we would have an easier time enforcing for that safety rule, because state law, they should be wearing them. We want the safest ride for them, but sometimes we don't always choose the safest ride when we're making our own choice in that bus.
Right. And state law is 2018 or older, I believe?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
2018.
Okay. So as you're ordering new buses, you guys are getting the 3-point belts, but yes, you're referring to your older fleet.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry. That is 100% right. This would have been the older fleet that was here, 2018 and older. And last year we had 2017s and 2014s en route. And we've transitioned into a few new buses this year that I only have 6 2017s en route. And then I have some spares without seatbelts.
Okay.
So it's not bad. It's very workable. It's very doable. But I look forward to, if I had a goal and I could wave a magic wand, I would love to have my whole fleet the same, because that would definitely help with whatever issues we're looking into for student safety.
Okay.
Because that's our ultimate goal, is the safest ride possible.
Yeah.
And if we're going to wear our seatbelts in our cars, why not wear them on the bus?
Right. Makes sense. This time has flown by, and I feel like there's so many questions I could still ask you. I know that you mentioned Wayfinder tablets, but is there any other technology that you guys are using right now that you want to talk about?
I'm still getting used to the fleet, and I'm still updating things inside my fleet. So that is the biggest change that I have made for our family.
Okay.
Here. We did Stop Finder for all of our parents. And so we're working with all them on getting their geocodes set up and their notifications set up so it'll pop up correctly. And then Wayfinder, we are literally just trying to find our way and get those routes in the right way and getting them going in the right direction, so we can turn on more notification. But ultimately, our goal for that is going to be the student IDs, because right now we are not doing the student IDs. So I want to keep that technology building so we can have the ID systems that will be able to check them on and off the bus. And that would be our student count, pre-trip, post-trip. So there's a lot of things coming someday. Like I said, there's lots of magic wands I wish I can wave. But we definitely have to make sure we're making the best operation decisions we can with our budget. And right now, I was very fortunate that Wayfinder was a big choice that we were able to add in.
Yeah. And you said Wayfinder's helping you find your way. I don't know if that was a pun, but I loved it. So
yes.
Well, thank you so much, Jennifer, for jumping on the podcast. It was great talking to you, having this conversation. I didn't even bring up the fact that you have chickens and a farm.
Yes, I do. I have 5 acres. When I lost my dad in 2021, he had built the house that we're in right now, and I bought it from my mom. And so now I have 60 chickens. I've always wanted to have chickens. So y'all are going to be in Frisco. If you need to come have a team building event, I have already offered my house.
Wow. Okay.
I said, hey, there's a hot tub. There's a cold pool you can go swim in. And then you can meet my chickens. I don't know them all by name, but I guarantee when I look around, I can tell you which ones are moved or where they're hiding. But I have chickens, dogs, and ducks. When I am home, I get to see the sunrise and the sunset, but it's every bit of why I do what I do every day because of my kids are in college and they get to come home back to that, which is all we can hope for, that we have a place to come back home to.
No, that's awesome. And we'll have to take you up on your offer one of these times to come see the ranch, the farm.
Happy to have y'all.
Well, thank you so much. Great talking with you, and we'll see you in a couple of days.
Yes, see you in a couple of days.
A special thanks for Taylor and Jennifer for jumping on the podcast. Also, Frank, I want to thank him too for being on here talking all about safety. We appreciate our sponsors, TransFinder, Ride, and School Radio. Guys, you can visit stnonline.com for all the latest news and analysis on the school transportation industry. Go check out that brand new November issue. Read all about our Transportation Director of the Year, Kiba Baldwin from Prince George's County in Maryland. We congratulate him again on this prestigious award. You can meet Kiba, shake his hand in person at the TST Conference November 7th through the 11th down in Frisco, Texas, suburb of Dallas. We are days away. Guys, you can come out. We'd love to have you. There's still room for you. You can still register. Go on tstconference.com. Check out our agenda, all the great things happening. It is the ultimate in special needs transportation training. Get the experience you need at our show. Elevate your school transportation operation. It's much needed expertise you can gain knowledge from. Everybody is at the show. We're excited to see everyone there. Going to be over 400 fleets, and we're going to have lots of experts on hand to answer all your questions and to meet those partners that have the solutions you need in your transportation operation. Guys, don't forget, subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to Pods Nation. Don't forget to drop us that 5-star review. We love reviews. We'd love to hear from you. Make sure and give us some love. Tell the nation about how much you enjoy the podcast. We love you guys. We'll see you next week.